Path of Exile 2 enters early access on December 6th, and whether you're a PoE veteran or new to the series, this video is designed to help you make the first major decision of the game, which class to play. Early access will start with 6 classes, each having 2 ascendancies or subclasses. That will expand to 12 classes, each with 3 ascendancies by the time of the full release, but today we'll be focusing on those available at early access launch. To ascend in PoE2, you'll need to complete a trial, which becomes available at some point in Act 2. So keep in mind that for the very beginning of the game, you'll be playing the core class, and then once you've got a feel for it and played for a little bit, you'll be able to choose your ascendancy. As far as we know, there's no way to change your ascendancy once you've chosen it. Of course, it's possible that changes throughout the course of early access as player feedback and things are taken into consideration, but for now you should treat it as permanent and choose wisely. First, let's talk about the warrior. The warrior is your typical strength-based, high-defense melee fighter. Compared to other classes, he can be a bit slower, with big hits and massive AoE damage. It's worth noting that while your attacks may be slower, you can dodge roll out of them at any time if needed to avoid an attack or switch course, so it's not like you're locked into a long animation. The primary weapon for the warrior is the mace, which has a variety of slams, war cries, fire attacks, and shield skills available. If you equip a shield, you can use it at any time to block any frontal damage, including spells, for a limited time, with the exception of some unblockable attacks that must be dodged out of. This also gives you access to shield-specific skills, such as the Shield Slam, which charges forward and blocks incoming attacks. The warrior can ascend into either the Warbringer or the Titan. The Warbringer supplements its melee combat with powerful war cries and summoned totems, which makes this class a strong contender for boss fights and general survivability, as your totems can draw aggro and provide extra damage, while you focus on dealing damage and surviving yourself. The Titan is a bit tankier, focuses on high defense, dealing big damage, and stunning enemies. As a Titan, your attacks will generally be slower and more heavy-hitting compared to other classes, which can make them feel quite satisfying to land. If you enjoy melee but prefer a more mobile, fast-hitting playstyle, perhaps the Monk is for you. The Monk primarily uses the quarterstaff and deals elemental damage in the form of lightning, ice, and wind. They focus on gaining and maintaining momentum with elemental combos, encouraging a varied playstyle. As a monk, if you enjoy mastering the elements, you may want to ascend into an Invoker. The Invoker Ascendancy focuses on harnessing the power of the elements and using them to inflict status ailment and deal massive elemental damage. Alternatively, maybe the Darkness is more your style. If you choose to ascend into the Acolyte of Cheula, you can exchange your spirit for Darkness, which can be used both to absorb damage and deal extra chaos damage through various skills and abilities, as well as leeching mana or energy from your enemies. But maybe you're a little more like me and prefer ranged gameplay over melee. If that's the case, you've got a few options. First is one of the more stereotypical of the bunch, the Ranger. The Ranger is a very agile and mobile bow user. They're able to shoot while moving and have a number of mobility skills. Their bow skills deal damage in the forms of ice, lightning, poison, or physical. Interweave them for devastating combos to handle any situation. When it comes time to ascend your Ranger, you have the choice of either Deadeye or Pathfinder. The Deadeye Ascendancy is a pretty straightforward continuation of the Ranger. It focuses on increasing attack speed, movement speed, and projectile damage. If you want to continue focusing on your elemental bow skills, this would be a great choice, as it only boosts everything you've been doing so far to make you a faster, more powerful version of yourself. If you're wanting to go a little different route though, The Pathfinder Ascendancy specializes in flasks and poisons. The Pathfinder can spread poison and throw various flasks to exploit her enemies by inflicting different types of damage and ailments. She also has skills available to avoid being slowed and enhance movement speed while using skills, which can be very useful for her playstyle. Next up is the crossbow-wielding Mercenary. The Mercenary plays somewhat like a top-down shooter, with a variety of ammo types that can make the crossbow function similarly to a shotgun, sniper rifle, assault rifle, or grenade launcher, in addition to a number of elemental ammo types that can be swapped between. Line them up with an ice wall and blow it up to deal massive AoE damage. The Mercenary can ascend into either the Witch Hunter or the Gemling Legionnaire. The Witch Hunter specializes in dealing large amounts of damage, especially to undead enemies and demonic foes, and offers a high amount of elemental damage reduction at the cost of armor and evasiveness. The Gemling Legionnaire is a unique class that enhances their abilities by embedding gems directly in their flesh, allowing them to gain additional skill slots, extra resistances, increase the quality of their gems, and avoid some gem requirements, enabling some otherwise impossible builds. Next up are our magic-focused classes, starting with the Sorceress. The Sorceress is your classic spellcaster or mage type, dealing massive elemental damage from a distance. Utilize and combo her spells for devastating results. For example, if you place a firewall and cast lightning sparks through it, they become empowered with fire. The Sorceress can also take advantage of the new ability to automatically swap weapons when using specific skills, for example swapping to a fire staff for fire skills or a lightning staff for lightning skills. They can also use trigger gems, which can build up and charge and then automatically cast a specific spell for you. The Sorceress can ascend into either the Stormweaver or the Chronomancer. The Stormweaver focuses on the elements, powering up your crits and shocks to do even more elemental damage. Alternatively, the Chronomancer commands and bends time to her will, allowing you to freeze enemies in their place, teleport back to a previous location, or manipulate cooldowns to be able to cast all of your spells before they would otherwise be available. And last but not least is the Witch. The Witch commands an army of undead minions to fight for her, while casting powerful chaos spells, including curses and sacrificial magic. As a witch, you can raise minions from the dead enemies around you, or use spirit to create permanent minions that are automatically revived when they die. Witches primarily use a new weapon type called the Scepter, which increases your spirit, allowing for even more minions to be summoned. The Witch can ascend into either the Infernalist or the Blood Mage. The Infernalist gains the ability to summon an Infernal Hellhound to fight alongside you, and takes a portion of the damage for you. The Infernalist can gain Pyromantic Pact to replace their mana with Internal Flame, creating a new playstyle of maintaining your internal flame to deal maximum damage without blowing yourself up. The Infernalist can also take on a demonic form, increasing damage taken as well as cast speed and damage dealt. Alternatively, you could become a Blood Mage, which causes all skills to cost both life and mana, but killing enemies will now drop life remnants, allowing for quick recovery. To empower this playstyle, the Blood Mage can be built to leech life from her spell damage and have a large amount of life, which can then be used to increase her critical damage. All of that said, keep in mind that characters and skills are very flexible in PoE, which means for the most part, any class can create a build using any weapon and any set of skill gems if they like, with the only true limitations being the Ascendancy classes and their unique skills. Otherwise, your class is really just your starting point, so do what you want. If you'd like to dig deeper into the classes, gems, or any other information currently available, I'd recommend checking out PoE2 DB, as they have a large amount of data already available, and I'd assume that'll continue to be updated throughout early access. If this video helped you out, please give it a like or subscribe, and let me know in the comments below which class you're going to go with, or if there's any specific content that you'd like to see out of me, as I do plan to continue to create PoE2 videos throughout early access and into full release.